We all had a very close connection, and Nettie was a fantastic person. She really was, and is not sort of not in the record books. As indeed, I don't think Jack Ford is much either. I might say something about Vona and Judith. I think both of them they were entirely different personalities, but both of them were very supportive of the Career Association. They both would have been members of the association, and having that connection to the tertiary sector and to what was happening in higher education was very important in the early days, at least. And I think it's most unfortunate that was it Dawson who introduced high fees for postgraduate studies? Both those courses were killed off toot sweet because career teachers just couldn't afford that amount of money for a postgraduate diploma. I couldn't have. Well, I think that especially at a time when there was no electronic communication, receiving something printed in the mail was of considerable importance to teachers because you have to face it, a careers teacher's job is somewhat isolated because you don't have anyone else who is doing exactly what you're doing in the school. And so communications from other people who are in the same position as you are is a very significant way of feeling as if, you are not, in fact, a crag on a rock somewhere. There would be relatively few students now who would be able to transition straight from school into some meaningful sort of work, without doing full-time or part-time training post-school. When I began, I would have said that we had changed from some students leaving at year 10 to a few students leaving at year 11 and some staying to year 12. Now, those who left at 11 would have gone into reasonably good training positions, apprenticeships or traineeships. And there were certain employers who employed a lot, and I mean a lot, of apprentices and trainees, especially the SEC, Gas and Fuel Corporation, Melbourne Board of Works, took on large numbers of apprentices every year. Now, they were mainly male, but then there were apprenticeships of different sorts that girls could also enter, and you could enter nursing training from year 11 as well. I mean, it's unimaginable in the present day and age. So you were far more likely as a careers person to be liaison directly with people who were going to employ your students. That would be one of the biggest changes I would see. I think that possibly in some ways has been more significant to careers teachers than an organisation like the History Teachers Association, which I was a member of for a long time, was the history teachers, because history teachers got support from each other in a school and careers teachers got support only from other careers teachers in a very personal way. I mean, obviously many teachers were very supportive of your work, but they didn't do your work. So having real peer support is very important. And that's possibly why, in some ways, the Career Education Association was more significant to careers teachers than other subject associations to other teachers because of that isolation in the school. In the year after I was appointed as a full-time careers teacher, I often wished I hadn't said yes to doing it. Now, my reason for that was that I personally found careers teaching not nearly as much fun as classroom teaching. You could go into a class and have a good time with the kids, even if, when I was teaching politics probably, but there were lots of things that you could enjoy together. Careers teaching was you were much more likely to be dealing with a student under stress than you were a student who came in to have a laugh. And I don't know that anyone ever came to see the careers teacher to have a good laugh. And so there was that lack of personal interaction I just couldn't cope with. I found it very difficult to cope with. And if I hadn't had good classes in the class that I had, I mean, it may seem absurd, but I would go into the classroom to relax because I didn't find it relaxing being a careers teacher. I think eventually I loosened up and it was not the same, but that was my initial experience. I remember that over and over, thinking, gosh, why did I give up what I enjoyed to do this? You have to have support to cope with that situation.